Hello. Today I'd like to discuss how to create assignments where you want students to review and analyze articles. I teach an HR management class, and every week I had students research a certain topic like recruitment, retention, transformation HR, job descriptions, whatever task had to be done, either transactional or transformational in HR. And they had to review the article and analyze it, find five key points, write a summary, and sometimes they would present those out in class. Since the last time I taught this class a year ago, I realize now they will just upload the article and have it give it a summary, and they really don't have to dissect it. So I had to think through, how am I going to continue to have them research 2025, 2026 articles, and analyze them on what's happening in HR. Or if I provide an article that I want them to review, what am I going to do with that assignment? Because now it's not AI resilient, it's very AI vulnerable. And so it's up to me as the instructional designer to ensure that we go extra steps, knowing they are going to use AI. So let's just go ahead and use AI and see how we can facilitate that and engage with some social interactions and personal life applications to the design of this. So, in summary, this is about how to allow students to upload an article in AI and get a summary. Now, in future work, this is a great tool because if you are a manager, and all of my students are management majors, if you're a manager in an organization and you have three or four articles on how to do leadership with AI products, you could upload 3 to 5 of those articles and ask AI to give you a summary and some best practices, and that would guide you in your own personal development. So, knowing how to do this is actually a skill that's going to help managers in the future. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen, and the best way to do this is for me to go directly into my Canvas course. So in week 2 of the course, it was on HR and technology, and I had several assignments integrated over the week, leveraging off each other. I teach the class on a Monday, Wednesday, Friday. Every Friday, a guest speaker comes in that I have aligned with the topic of the week. So I have here my 100% AI assignment. I'm starting them off with allowing them to upload an article and answer specific questions. Now, before I do that, I did an introduction on the EEOC, and at the same time, we are trying to incorporate ethics and guardrails around the use of AI. So I introduced this research. EEOC solicits recommendations to curb AI-driven discrimination. And this is from SHRM, the Society for HR Management. And so they are asking for people to show some due diligence navigating using all the new technology that's coming into human resources. And they provided research that if you're not careful, screening for candidates can actually discriminate against people of color using AI and also against people with disabilities. So I have the students understand that as we're going to go forward and look at the technology for HR, we also need to understand how to put guardrails on that, and that here are some of the solutions recommended to make sure that we're enforcing that protection and principles that would protect the hiring. So that I started it with that so we could put ethical guardrails around what we're doing. And I recommend that um, ongoing with any new topics you introduce with AI. So the first article I had them look at, which was a Fast Company assignment, actually had an article that was recent, and the title of it was 5 HR related AI predictions for 2026. And so this not only help students understand the future of HR, and probably out of 40 students, I have 10 considering HR as a career. By the end of the semester, that usually increases because they realize the variety of management positions. But this tells the future of HR and how the way HR is done is changing, and the way you facilitate the different jobs in HR is going to change with more of a partnership with AI tools. But it also informs the students that in general, HR screening you as a candidate, because we have juniors and seniors in the class looking for jobs, is also going to change. And the kind of transferable skills that you might need to have in your resume is going to change. So this is setting students up for success in addition to analyzing what's going on in HR. And so one of the things I think was really interesting in this was that AI will amplify the unique value humans bring to the workplace. So there'll be a notable shift to human first enterprises. And then work blueprints will replace job descriptions. And I thought that was fascinating. And rather than just a listing of duties, responsibilities, and qualifications, these work blueprints will focus instead on skills and outcomes and demonstrated experience and values such as collaboration and teamwork. So it's going to be able to analyze your transferable skills more than just your job description. And also, the title of jobs will change. The HR director may become the chief productivity officer because organizations and HR are moving more toward productivity focus and technology focus. And of course, hoping not to let go of the human connection also. So the article was short, but it definitely gave food for thought. And I created an assignment for this article that I gave them permission to upload into Gemini, which is the tool that we use at our university. So I asked the students to upload the article and tell Gemini that they were a student in HR management and that this article was making predictions. So please give me a summary of what the author is saying about the predictions that I could actually integrate with my course learnings in which included on the next question transactional HR or transformational HR. So the prior week, they did have instruction on the difference between transactional and more strategic transformational HR. And then what are the key takeaways an HR manager should be concerned about? But then let's shift it to the student. How old are you? When will you be graduating? Are there any implications for me regarding getting a job or how I will apply for a job? And then what are some further research skills, further research on the skills I'll need in AI to succeed in 2026 and beyond? And then I asked the students to come up with their own question or two and tell me in this assignment what else they asked. So by now their curiosity, I'm sure, is up. So at this stage of implementing AI at our university, or if you're doing that for the first time in your program, it's good to get the students to see without fear that there's a transition happening in how you apply for jobs and what HR tools we'll be looking for, and to start to have a future think about taking advantage of what the professors are providing for them to use these tools and to prepare for their jobs. So I did the article online or in a Word document. I converted it for them into Word so that they could upload it. And I asked them to give a summary of the predictions from that prompt, transactional HR or transformational HR, and why, key takeaways for an HR manager, implications for getting a job, skills I need, and additional questions and a header. So there's an example of one of the assignments that was submitted. Excuse me, here we go. And I always ask my students to organize it. It's not just a copy and paste from here. They can paste it in, but I expect them to go in and organize it according to the questions that I have asked. And so the student has written about the rise of work blueprints rather than static responsibilities, decoupling work from jobs, and figuring out what assignments can be assigned to humans and which ones to AI, so we can have a class discussion on that. And all of these interesting topics will come back to class after this assignment is turned in and graded, and the students will get in their teams and will continue to facilitate conversations around this, around how they could revise their resume, what they saw in the future, and I can facilitate those discussions in teams or in a large group discussion with the class. And then on Friday, by the way, we had a guest presenter from Daimler Truck who talked about these things, but also shared the 10 products that they're using at Daimler in HR. And he addressed the concern about bias and how they oversee that. So that brought a reality check to everything that they're talking about. So here was my additional question for Gemini. What are three of the most important AI tools specifically that I should master before graduation? I thought that was an excellent question. Why master it, the key skill? And they, were able to see maybe what they needed to take independently with some additional training. So that was step one in getting them to think about AI, technology, HR, how it impacts them. The other thing they did in Teams is a discussion post. So we use Canvas and we can have threaded discussions. In a large class, I just break the discussion into teams and have them interact with only 5 or 6 people. And in this discussion post, they looked at another article, and it was from People magazine, and it was examples of HR tools. And so there were 10 examples. I have 9 teams. So from the first number 1 to number 9, each team got a different tool used in HR and how a company used it and why. And so they had a 300-word post summarizing the understanding of the product, an opinion. In these red questions was their personal opinion. And then they replied to 2 other students. So, what function did it support? What benefits did it provide the organization? Is there any concerns? Could there be other things that would have impacted those results besides the system? And the most interesting question I had, if you would have implemented this tool, when they came and presented out in the classroom, each team selected 1 or 2 people after they had a discussion around the tool. They presented out some additional answers to questions about the tool and told the rest of the class what the tool was. The question was at the end, once you've used this tool or the company used this tool, should they go back to the original way of doing it? Should they go back to paper human review of resumes, or should they go stay with AI now that they have gone that route? And I would say 100% said there's no reason to go back. It's evident that the AI tool is the best way to do this. However, we are concerned about bias, and these are things we also think are the risks and what should be implemented. So again, this assignment helps shift the paradigm and the transition towards carefully evaluating AI tools, especially in human resources. Also, students have a concern about the carbon imprint on the environment. Gen Z are very concerned. So we use Gemini at our university, and I did have this slide to show them so far that the carbon imprint for Gemini is 133% less than ChatGPT. And that as Gen Z students going forward into the future, I saw them in both engineering and business being the innovators, providing solutions for concerns that they may have around AI. And as we facilitate these assignments and show them how to use the tools and teach it along with ethics and certain guardrails, that they'll be able to take that in managing their teams in organizations and what they look for. Of course, another add-on you could add here is that they had to read two other articles or go to the library online and find two other articles and compare and contrast the opinions. I might do that in an MBA class or DBA class. There's limited time in an undergrad class. I hope that's helpful for you on how assignments you may currently have in your course, especially when they're in a learning management platform, that you're going to need to upgrade them with the thinking that students are going to use AI. Therefore, how do you make it an AI resilient assignment with additional critical thinking and adding the social interaction, guest presenter, team present out on these assignments? And so I hope that's helpful, and stay tuned for my next design coming up by Dr. Wendy Flint.